here in the chambers and via video. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? Thank you.
I haven't heard the recording thing yet.
Okay, Mr. Keller.
Here.
Mrs. Clack. Here. Mr. Kramer.
Here.
Mr. Skips.
Here.
Mrs. Welch.
Yes, here.
Mr. Jacobson.
Here.
Mr. Mayor.
I'm here. Thank you. And if we'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by our clerk and remain standing for the invocation to follow. Thank you. The flag.
Allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And you may bow your head if you so choose. Lord, we come before you tonight as a city council, as we go forth to do the duties that are put upon us by our elected citizen as we were elected. We ask that you are with us, that we make good and sound decisions that will benefit our community. We ask that you keep your hand over all of us as we go about our daily duties, and that you keep your hand over all our citizens that might be in peril, sick or ill in any which way, and lead them in their way through life. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Item 4, an action item found on pages 1 and 2, approval of agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve,
Second, Skips.
second by Skips. Discussion. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mrs. Welch.
Yes.
Mr. Skips.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Clack.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Anyone wish to change your vote? I see none. The agenda is now forwarded and approved. Approval under item 5, approval of the minutes from the February 17th, 2023 meeting, pages 3 through 10. But was that 217 or was that 227?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I have a typo?
Yeah, you got
Okay.
217. So
Was-
please strike through and make that the 227 meeting.
Move to approve the minutes from the meeting of February 27th.
Second. Welch.
There's a motion. Any corrections? Seeing no corrections, other than change that on there, that's 227. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Skips.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson.
Yes.
Mrs. Clack.
Yes.
Mrs. Welch.
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, but of course. Anyone to change a vote? None. The minutes from 227-23 are now adopted as recorded. Communication from the mayor, item 6. Let's say that, as you know, that I did come back from Juneau with our Director of City Services, Danny Wallace, and Councilwoman Welch. And we just didn't just go to Juneau. We were also in Anchorage with 2 people with 2 Bear environmental consultation and HMH environmental consultation on the Friday in question, February 24th, before coming home here after midnight. So it was a very busy week. I have a lot of takeaways. I won't go through all of those because it's all going to start to unveil itself before us. I will say coming up tomorrow, there's a climate action committee from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock where you can give public testimony on what you think about what the EPA wants to do here for our non-attainment region. That's from 2 to 8 o'clock tomorrow. Also coming up in the near future, I believe I'm going to be involved with Fort Wainwright starting the 27th of March. There's going to be an active exercise that General Eifler is inviting us to participate in, where we actually ride out on the helicopters and go out to the drop zone and see how they perform. So that's like a 2-day event that I'll be at. Other than that, just right over the horizon is my attempt to try to get us some of the monies. Danny Wallace and I have till March 17th to put in for some of the monies that we now know are available to us that DEC told us about for our water, for our clean water funds. And so we have till March 17th to apply for those. And other than that, I don't have anything new to report. I'll have more on the 20th of March as we get closer. Any questions for item 7? Council members' questions of the mayor? Seeing none, we move forward to citizens' comments. These are limited to 5 minutes per citizen. And we have Madam Clerk who with us here from Gavora Incorporated.
So we have Tom Phillips. He is the facilities director.
Mr. Phillips, would you please approach and state your name and where you live for the record, who you are? And pull the microphone up close to you. That's how we keep you recorded. Thank you,
Thanks.
Mr. Phillips.
Hi, I'm Tom Phillips. I'm with Gavora Incorporated. I live at 1161 Dolphin Way in Fairbanks. Here this evening to talk about a sewer line that we'd like to upgrade, running between the existing sewer line, which connects from Dr. Wentz's clinic, the pagoda, and then travels along the division between the asphalt and the undeveloped lot 3 to Fennell Drive.
Tom,
We would
excuse
like
me,
to take
Madam
and-
Clerk, can you put that up for us to see? Let her put that up for us to see. Thank you. And then you can point to it if you want to as well.
And so we would take the existing sewer line, which runs from Wentz's clinic to Pagoda, travels out to Fennell Drive to the lift station. The Gavora Incorporated would like to take and develop a new line to utility standards, that would travel down the existing road, connect it to Fennell Drive, and then to that. Allow it to service lots. 5, 6. We would develop a sewer line to the utility standards. It would allow those other properties to develop and have water and sewer, which they currently would not, without traveling through an adjacent lot. That's what we would like to do. We're not in the utility business. We've had this other line. We would offer this up, get it to the standards, and then we would ask the Public Works, City of North Pole to adopt that sewer line from us.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Phillips? Any concerns? Danny Wallace, our Director of City Services, do you have anything to say about it? None? Okay, and so we can have a copy of that and get back with you, take it under advisement.
I'm sorry?
We could take that under advisement and get back to you later after we study it. So everything you need has already gone to Mr. Danny Wallace here?
If so. Is that correct?
It's in the council.
Yeah, but I'm saying what you need, all your schematics and all. Yeah,
So we've got Design Alaska doing the development work on this and the engineering. It looks like it could all work out. We've got a good design team on this project. And so I don't have the math data on that, but they've looked into it. It looks like it would be feasible to do. And we would, like I said, develop that to the utility standards.
okay. We'll take that under advisement and get back. We get back with you
Probably with our office with Matt Gavora.
with Matt himself. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you very much.
Very good.
Madam Clerk, anyone else for citizens' comments?
Yep, we also have Howard Rixey with the North Pole Community Chamber of Commerce here.
Howard's up. Hello, Howard.
Good evening, all. You want me to state my name and address and all that too?
If you'd like to, please, just for the record.
It's just for record. All right, Howard Rixey, address 5631 Old Valdez Trail, Salcha. So my primary reason for being here is we do our monthly luncheons and we're looking forward to the city doing the update on March 28th. That's great. But we also had another idea and we're asking, this is a kind of posing a request to you. We know that there's a number of vacancies on the council that will be coming up this year, I believe. And we thought that the common man probably doesn't know a whole heck of a lot of the process and what's involved in running the candidacy and everything else. So we'd be very interested in one of you actually being our spotlight, if you would, for the month of April to come in and lay that processes out and concerns and whatever. And we felt that April was the appropriate time there because that gives a person, a potential candidate, ample time to put their thoughts together and go through all the wickets before they actually declare their candidacy and everything else.
Smiling because you're saying April, and I'm thinking of April Tricky. She's the clerk
Yeah.
of the borough, and they do that for election. Madam Clerk, do you know when that's done in election year? Is it done in April? Is it done in May?
I'm sorry, I don't know offhand.
But so the clerk would be who you go through for that. And April Tricky usually has an open house at the Juanita Helms downstairs.
That would be for the borough.
No, that's for everybody. Excuse me.
Okay.
They run the elections. We're just a precinct.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
All right.
so
No-
they do that. But
Yeah.
I know what you're asking for in addition to that, perhaps.
No, well, I mean, all right, speak,
But that's usually.
read my mind. Tell me what
Yeah,
I'm thinking.
I think that's what you're thinking, but officially it goes through the clerk and it goes to the borough clerk. So she is the.
Okay, I'll work with
She's
Melissa.
the
on that.
what do we call it? The public elections official for the city.
All right, yeah, we just thought it was, we know that in the past, it's been hard to find candidates and everything else there, and it's the kind of the fear of the unknown. This is just our opportunity to help propagate the good citizen there, actually taking active role in politics, if you would, so.
As much as I'd like to be there March 28th, I'm probably falling out of a helicopter at a drop zone somewhere on that day.
I'm not gonna comment on that there, but somebody is gonna be there March 28th,
I
right?
could have someone there. I can.
For the
ask my
city
pro
update.
tem if he can go in my stead.
Yeah, there's a lot of people are very interested in hearing the city update, and
Right.
we've couched that as I'm speaking to all the different major projects like Three Bears and that project there,
That's right.
and the residential projects there, and any of the other major constructions and what have you.
Sure.
So there's a lot of contractors and engineers and realtors and everything else that are very interested in that. So
When and where are you?
it's March 28th on Hotel North Pole at noon. Call into Pagoda after 11 and they'll deliver your lunch to you, the hotel by noon. So, yeah. And then, and the only other thing I would like to comment, and this is more personal, one of the things that we have learned in our luncheons there from our realtors and other business entities that have come there is that a big premium is commercial property in North Pole. And it is our hope, I mean, we're trying to stir up that economic engine of the North Pole community there, and we would hope that the city would echo those same sentiments there. And this sewer line, we think it's a good idea. I mean, Gavora is willing to invest in it there, and I know they're asking for, and again, this is me speaking personally. They're asking y'all to pick it up after it's in place. I think that's a great idea. Can we bring that picture up? I just want to clarify one thing in regards to the
Clerk,
Welcome
yeah,
Center.
sure. Madam Clerk, if you bring back the picture, Mr. Phillips had.
So I just want to clarify, so the Welcome Center is going to be right here. This right now is the utility line that goes over the car wash.
Car wash.
So our plan is from, again, design Alaska and kind of utilities. Is we're going to actually put, I've got the final design here, but our vision is to put a manhole type utility connection or connecting all the utilities there. And with that in mind, the intent is they eventually vacate this if that sewer line goes through.
Okay. Understand.
So we're hoping to have that all of the side of the pond before we start laying stuff in. Because it may change our plans in that regard. So the sooner the better we have an answer, the more money we save in a lot of. In addition, part of the big question is one of the agreements we have with Bora is we're going to pay the gravel portion of that road. We're not going to do that until those sewer lines, all the utility lines are laid.
That would make sense.
That's not a big deal.
Sure, that's right.
Okay.
So any questions for Mr. Ricks either?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it. Any other citizens' comments? Citizens' comments are closed. For communications from a department head, I don't believe Ellie's going to be with us tonight, but we'll go in to Chief Dutra. You could be up first, sir.
I didn't have a chance for preparing notes. A little busy on like 14 different projects, but we did a DT class this weekend for this soccer team. Girls soccer team is pretty cool. I think good showing. I think my daughter told me they were all dreading the 4 hours of doing defensive tactics because their mom and dad made them go. But lots of giggles and fun and good time, and every one of them loved it and enjoyed it. And I think they learned a lot about personal safety. So it was good. Good to teach class again. Haven't taught that class in a long time, but I was glad to do so. So, the governor reappointed me to the Alaska Police Standards Council. I am honored, and it's a privilege to sit on that council and be part of that board. It's does tremendous work, and we got a lot of work ahead of us on modifying police standards across the state. So, thank you, Governor Dunleavy, for that appointment, and I will serve you proud. And I thank the mayor for allowing me to sit on that board too. So appreciate
Don't thank me.
you letting me do that. The department did our first active shooter course for the department. So as you remember, the professional development plans that we approved last year, the officers are required to go through a 4-hour course of active shooter training. Generally, this will be at the beginning of everybody's training from now on. We do it, and we've done it regularly with officers, but now it's going to be mandatory that they do it right at the beginning. And we did a 10-hour course with everybody the other day, so on Saturday. So the rest of us will go on this Saturday to another course to get the rest of us trained up. And we're also have the fire department personnel with us doing some initial briefings and discussions on some what we call RTF, which is Rescue Task Force. So when something like this happens, after more training and more equipment for the fire department, we will reach this level of being able to have those fire folks go in with our officers into what we call a warm zone when the shooter's been either isolated or deactivated or dealt with. Then we'd bring medics in with officers that are be able to get them access to the wounded. So the program itself is quite a heavy lift, but we need to get our department, their department, and up to speed, and then the other interior agencies are doing the same. So there's this very big push to get us back to where we were about 7 years ago when we did a big area-wide borough training. So big deal, big kudos to Lieutenant Smith for pulling that off. It's quite a lift, and I appreciate the fire department for participating. Our sewer backed up again last week. Just nothing but a nightmare. I know Danny and I are working with the contractor on this. The plans to dig this thing up this summer and fix it. It is disgusting is the best word for it, to have sewer coming up inside that building. It makes the building almost unusable. Currently the smell coming from the oil separator in the garage because it filled up when the system backed up. And now that it's just like a septic tank sitting in our garage. I know we're still battling trying to find someone to even pump that out because apparently it's difficult, but we're working on that as well. So,
NRC,
pardon me?
NRC
Okay.
or NCR.
Oh, I don't know. We're just having to shut the garage and cordon off the building because we can't use it. And this has been ongoing for 1.5 years. It's just, we just got to get it fixed. And, so just keeping the council abreast on that. It's not cool. So anyway, that's all I have.
What does the builder Stanton say about this at this juncture? Are they cooperative with us, what we're trying to do?
He's aware of it and he knows it. We're just calling the pumping folks as soon as it happens and trying to get someone in their bucket and clean up all the stuff coming up out of the floors.
Okay.
But he's aware of it. But there's just nothing we can do until we can dig it up and get that sewer to flow properly.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Dutra?
Just, I was referring to a company that the city of Fairbanks uses to clean out our waste oil separator tanks. That's the company that comes in and it can vacuum out all your hazmat liquids.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, one chief to another. Chief, you're smiling too much over there. Good to see you back.
At least I don't have to talk about septic issues, I guess. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Sorry I missed you last week, but only a week away, so it doesn't feel like I missed too much. As all of you know, the new fire engine, hopefully you've been watching the emails I've been sending out, but the new fire engine is finally coming along really rapidly. It's exciting to see it actually looking like a vehicle and not just piles of metal and things in their pictures. So it is on schedule right now. Myself and Captain Hammond will be traveling down there the last week of March to do the pre-final inspection is before they kind of button it all up. It's still open up and we can go through it with a fine tooth comb, find any problems or changes we want to make at that time. And then it is on target to be finished the end of April, which we'll make another trip down there to do the final inspection. Once it's finally completed, they'll do the pump testing, acceptance testing completely right there at the facility. So if all goes well, it'll take a month or so to ship it, and that'll get us that unit here in the summertime, which is what our goal always is. We don't like to take possession of a new fire truck in the middle of the winter and try to deal with training and other issues with it in the deep cold. So timing wise, it's actually worked out very well. So we're really excited that it is finally on its way. 2 years in the making. It's amazing how long it takes nowadays to get simple ambulances and fire trucks. It's incredible. Other news is our 2 firefighter openings. We have made conditional job offers. We've offered the positions to Annabelle Austin and Crystal Marino, excuse me. They were going through the conditions of the offer. Annabelle has actually passed all the conditions at this time, and we've got a start date tentatively towards the middle of the month. And then Crystal is just finishing up. Hopefully this week we'll have her finished with her conditional sides of the offer, and probably set a start date closer to the end of the month for her, which would bring us up to full staffing, which I'm really happy to report. And like Chief Dutra has reported, we've been fairly blessed at the fire department. We're still getting applications. I mean, it's dwindled drastically, but we're still at least, we had 2 positions, we had 5 applicants, which is, 10 years ago, we had 10 times that many applicants, but we're still getting applicants. So we're staying ahead of the game, at least. I really feel for Chief Dutra and his struggles to find staffing. I couldn't imagine. Last thing I have for you tonight is we did meet with Carl Johansson from Johansson Wing Architects about the plan to put together for a prospective new fire station. It was a really good meeting. I was able to actually show him our current facility. I've described it to him and I've sent him floor plans, but this was the first time he was actually on grounds to see the current facility and really understand what our needs are and how drastically we've overgrown that fire station. So he's got a pretty good concept of what we need. And the best part of it is we were looking at the 2 lots that we're prospectively looking to build on, where the annex building that we do our training in, and then the tree lot behind it next to Taco King. Those 2 lots are what we're prospectively trying to get him to fit it in. And from what he's looking at, it looks like there's plenty of room to do what he needs to do in there, which I was fearful that he would come back and say there's just no way. But there's more acreage there than we had actually thought. So that's all I have for you this evening. I can take questions.
Questions for the chief? Yes.
So I'm representing the city on Thursday at the borough meeting. And one of the things is the 2 Rivers volunteer fire department. Is there anything that you would like me to take with me?
So we have taken the stance at North Fire Department that we are completely neutral on some of the controversy that's going on there. We definitely have had contact, both sides of the issue going out there. We fully support any fire department, and we would support them once they get up and running. But there is still a lot of turmoil in that community, whether they, because there's some citizens that desperately want that fire department and some that desperately do not. And we understand both sides of the fence there. And so, yeah, I've officially taken a neutral stance. I've let them know that. I let the borough mayor know that. So we want to support whatever that community wants to do, no different than, when North Pole wants to do something, that's what you're here for, is to represent the community members. And we truly feel our best avenue is to support whatever the decision of that community is going to be. And then once they get going, we'll absolutely support them like we support all the other fire departments in the interior.
And then follow up with that, for the engine that will be retiring, have we started the process of accepting or creating an application?
Not yet.
Okay.
And actually, I tentatively was going to bring that to this meeting and then decided to wait possibly till next meeting or maybe into April. I have developed an actual process that we would use for turning it into such like a grant. I looked through other organizations around the state, Anchorage in particular, that gives away retired fire apparatus. And I felt that they were basically, I want to say this without offending anybody, but basically just, you know, it was up to the fire chief to say, okay, these guys get it. And he's the one trying to find the best community. Well, I feel it needs to be a committee process. So I've developed requirements that a community would need to apply, an application process, and then a committee that we would put together. And then I would be heading the process, but I would be an unvoting member of that committee. So literally I would not have a choice as to a vote as to where it would go. And that committee would look at the applicants that we gather and then choose an organization. So the one thing that, you know, I'm preparing to bring to you is obviously our city code requires us at this time to send it to auction. And I think I've discussed this with each of you by now. Our last ladder that we sent to auction, it went for $5,000. So after the commission, we got $4,200 for a fire truck to replace it. That one is about $1.8 million now. So I really believe in doing the right thing and to send this engine that still has some life for a small community fire department. It would be a tragedy to send it to an auction, to have somebody buy it and put it in their backyard where it would rot. There's a lot of communities that really could use it. They just don't have the funds to pay for it at auction. So that's the plan. I'll have that developed possibly for next meeting.
Thank you, Chief.
Ms. Clack.
As you made reference to your committee, how many people will be on that committee?
I believe I did a list of the types of, basically, I don't quote me on this, but it would be definitely a council member. It would be a couple personnel from the fire department, a fire chief from a neighboring fire department, a community member of the city of North Pole. There was 6 or 7 different classifications that we could use, and then we'd need a minimum of 5 of those if I remember right. So it'd be at least a 5-person panel.
Sounds good.
So
Looking around, I just want to say something. You're talking about ranking things.
Mhm.
Came to my attention when I was down in Juneau that the way they take all of our legislative priorities is that they rank them. And so I didn't want any one of our departments not to have something up there. But maybe in the future, we're going to have to look at how we score ourselves, trying to see through the eyes of the recipients in the legislature. So just food for thought.
Yeah.
Nothing concrete now, just food for thought at that point. Is that it? Thank you, Chief.
Good job.
Appreciate it. Danny, I think that leaves you. Tricia Fogarty won't be with us tonight. She's out ill, so. Danny, you're up.
Thank you. As we spoke about a few minutes ago, one of the key focuses for city services and for the city is the grant writing services provided by Two Bears. Again, we recommend support for that agreement. The agreement gets us grant writing services for the next few months, and the cost is consistent with other organizations which provide the same service. Actually, it's a little bit better than some of the other ones. We've interviewed them. They have interviewed us. We've had visits on both sides. We've seen the work that they do, and we think that they can help us get after our key city needs. And I at the end of this, I'll answer questions at the end of this or even right now. But that's one of the key things. And I'll briefly cover the 3 departments. I did publish notes. I normally don't. I didn't know if I would be here, but I did publish notes for this. But bottom line is building season is approaching. We're on the cusp of it. We actually, North Star Borough is going to do a major renovation to Westcott Pool, costing $8.1 million, which does have our building inspector excited about that project very much. But we're going to try to do the right things. We're actually looking really hard about how we actually how we bill for the building inspection process. So we're digging into that because we haven't had a project that large in quite a while. One other thing in the building department, we're working on professionalization of the utility utility accounting clerk actually who does also building department duties. But Melanie Swanson did spend last week doing some training in utilities duties, but she also doubles as our building department clerk. But again, Melanie shifting over into utilities. Melanie did do some training with the Tanana Chiefs Conference on utilities billing. It was a productive week, and I've talked to her a little bit about it, but I'll get some of the other things that go on with it. But again, focused on that professional accounting that we need for that department. Talking more about the utility department, there were no significant issues over the last week. But that master services agreement that the last meeting that was approved with respect, we're working on getting signatures for that. Finally, I'll go into Public Works. Mr. Jacobson, I appreciate the punt on the NRC. I appreciate the help on that. We did not find anyone that would be willing to do that. Pumping in the police department to address the sewer issues. What we did find out today is that we have to be very careful about draining out that oil pump, just because it may need to have some liquid in the bottom of it. So we're trying to figure out the right way to do that. But the bottom line, as Chief said, is we are having significant problems with that sewage backing up into the police department. We have called Bigfoot Pumping and Thawing several times. Each time the bill is going to go to Stanton, to the contractor. They have committed to actually redoing the system, digging it up and relaying the pipe for that. So we had a meeting with them, I think it was between 2 and 3 weeks ago, with the police department. And like I said, at that time, they committed to making it right, but it won't happen for a few months. We do have an interim solution for that, and we're paying close attention to that. We did receive the final paperwork for our drainage survey, which last spring was an adventure. We hope this spring is less dramatic than last spring as far as flooding within the city of North Pole. The drainage survey grant was $46,000, and we applied for that to try to determine a plan for how we reduce the flooding risk to the city of North Pole. So that drainage survey hopefully will provide a plan for us and how we address things. And again, whether it's redoing our culverts, whether it's redoing and moving dirt in certain areas so drainage drains better. But that drainage survey is the first start of it, and that will commence probably in the next few weeks. And finally, for Public Works, we did submit to the paper a invitation to bid for street sweeping. We haven't done that previously. Previously, we've just contracted for spring street sweeping of the debris on the roads. This year, we're going to actually send that out to bid and see if we can get a better deal. And also so we can rely on that same company to do it more than once during the year, because we think probably before the start of next winter that it'll need to be done again. So we'd like to be able to get that lock in a price for that. And I don't have anything else for the group, but I'm open to questions.
Yes, Danny, got a question. With our contractor, Will Hubbard, what is the possibility this year of mitigating the amount of snow that we got all stacked up around? Can you describe any of where we're at with him?
We already have made a plan for some key areas within the city to remove snow already. So we're not waiting for anything to happen. We're actually being proactive. And that'll happen in the next few weeks, where you'll see some snow removal to a location that Phil Hubbard, who's our normal contractor for snow plowing, he's got a location, a lot that he's going to put that at. So I think that again, we're looking ahead. Cody, actually, our PW supervisor, is on leave right now, but he's got capable folks in charge. But we're going to sort of look at it in mid-March again in the next week or two. We'll kind of look at it and see where we need to go as far as preemptive snow removal. We do have a plan right now that we'll do some snow removal initially, and then we'll look and see where other areas that need attention and how we're going to get after those.
Any questions for Danny? Jeff, please.
Yeah. Could you stipulate where the chronic flooding happens in the city? What are the low areas that we're concerned about?
I don't know if you can bring up a map of the city. And I may actually, I don't know if that's an easy thing to do. And Mayor, you Mayor, you drove all those.
Yeah, I know where they're at. So if you look along the old Holiday Road in those areas, 6th, 5th, 4th, and those always seem to be underwater. I don't know how they were built with basements, but they were. We also know this, I wish I didn't know this, but apparently when they did the area called Ford 2, they somehow said, well, let's not put them under an engineering thing to see about drainage. That was a mistake. And so we have gone past Valentine's property up off perimeter to put up extra areas that we bought for stuff, and it's still not adequate. As Cody has shown me, everything flows through towards Homestead, and then it goes north up Homestead from there, and it gets all blocked up. So we have a significant problem there too. So those are the lowest lying areas that I'm aware of. Stillmeyer seems to have problems up in there too. I don't know if you're going to have it on there, Madam Clerk. It's you have to zoom quite a bit to see the streets.
You turn on the. I know this.
Here you go. If you go off the old Richardson and you look at all those areas that start where the Henderson Academy is, Frosty's, all that, you go to Holiday Road. And of course, she's not zoomed in there again, and go all the way down the perimeter and
Up in the corner, the other corner.
And to your
that
left.
to the left.
corner. Yeah, down that triangle there.
Yeah.
So the corner, the house that's on that corner, right down there where you had your hand. In that area down here, those two lots that are in between come into the neighborhood right there. Yeah, in that area, we've had those two lots made into a lake, small lake.
And Valentine that lives behind it has to
Yeah.
put sandbags up every year to stop her place from getting flooded.
And that whole lake that they built, however deep that is, it was full.
Overfilled. Yeah. Mhm.
And I'll tell you, when I was talking about some preemptive removal of snow, there's some certain areas here that we've actually.
Right. Yes.
But like I said. That's again, this drainage survey, they're gonna map the entire city and how it drains and how it doesn't drain. That's gonna that's gonna allow us to plan for future efforts. And it's not gonna be free as far as, you know, the survey itself isn't gonna be the end of what we need to do. It's just gonna pave the way forward. So.
We're trying to get money for that too. When we get these grants. Because it's going to take a lot to put in new culverts and remediate the culverts that we have. Any questions for Danny besides?
I got one.
Yes.
Concerning the annex to the police department, was that design or was that execution of design that we're having the sewer issue?
Yes.
Okay.
But
I'm just kind of curious.
To be seriously, yeah, it was.
So
What they did is they designed it, but they didn't, there wasn't the quality control. They made a change to the way the sewer drainage was after the fact. And Paul Trissel can articulate this better than I can. But the point is that, again, the design wasn't followed, but at the same time, it just continually freezes up. So we don't know exactly what's causing it until they dig in there.
Okay.
So, but it was, we do know that they deviated from the plan, the Design Alaska plan that they had. But we don't know if that's exactly all of it. So we're gonna dig into it this summer.
Okay.
Part of
Thank
the
you.
plan, what requirements, more than plans, requirements, you go 4 feet deep.
Right.
And they didn't do that. Okay. They thought that they had some sort of tacit approval from I don't know who, that they didn't have to go that deep. So they lost that opportunity over the summer of that year. And so then it started showing itself. Chief, wasn't it showing itself as early as November? Oh, I'm talking about before that, before that. They didn't tell us, but February, but November, end of November after things, started freezing.
And this summer, they did do some fixes. They attempted to
Okay.
do some fixes. They insulated some pipes. But that didn't get it. And actually, we're still under warranty with them. And so we'll hold them to that.
Thank you.
Miss Welch, thank you.
Oh, I'm just curious if it's the elephant in the room that we're not talking about is the Gavora property. Are we not discussing that at all? Or,
No, it's under advisement.
okay, so questions that are
If you
different.
want to ask them, ask them.
Well, I was just
Yeah.
curious. It says that it's on private property and that's for sure. Since the Gavoras own it all, but at the point of if that road gets paved, is that still gonna be Gavora property over there? Is that, because we
again-
have other places that give us, once they build it out, they hand over the the maintenance to us because we take over the pipes in other parts of the city. So I'm just curious what are they not running on private property at points? Like, for example, when we're gonna be putting in, if we put sewer and water into our new development in
Brookside Park.
Brookside Park, it's some of that, is that gonna be on private property also,
The housing developments are more of a developer's agreement. It's an incentive that we give them when we take over the management of those. On the Gavora property, again, from our perspective, and this is, again, I can't speak for the council, but from a public works and a city management perspective, because it's private property, because it's already managed by them, we really do not have any interest in taking on an additional burden, either whether it's the streets or whether it's the sewer and the water, as far as the actual lines themselves. So again, it's a little bit different because it's residential versus commercial.
to follow up on that.
Go ahead.
So they can certainly put in that sewer and they can certainly connect it to the sewer like they have already connected, just in a different place. But they would bear the burden and they would bear the private ownership of that and making sure, like they have in the past, how to maintain it or clean it out or whatever.
Correct. When it gets plugged right now, they are paying to clean that out instead of the city.
Thank you. That's what I want to know.
Any other questions? Thank you, Danny. Appreciate your report. Madam Clerk, we don't have any ongoing projects, do we? Item 10, Madam Clerk.
No, are we gonna finish the
No.
rest of the stuff?
I don't think we had anybody. Trish is out. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot all about you. The way you come up on this thing here, it was like, you're right. And I got the borough meeting too. You've got it. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Keep
all right.
track.
Good evening, everybody. So I, along with Melanie Swanson, have been taking a Aruba class also. That's something that the state of Alaska does with their Division of Community, programs. It's called the Rural Utility Business Advisory Program. And it's offered free of cost to cities. And I'm taking the business management training for rural utilities. And it's been a really cool class. I'm very happy to be part of it. I've gotten a whole lot from it. The only other thing that I have is that we are in the final stage of our switch over with Revise for our new website. I am just waiting for them to say, boom, we're done, so that we can schedule that training and start the review and update process with the pages and any changes the departments want to make, that kind of thing. So that is super exciting. So next time I come to you, we should be all up and running on that. And that's all I have.
Mr. Jacobs has got a question for you.
Yes, Madam Clerk. Where does one find the North Pole City codes is there an online link or is there a printed book? Because I'd like to read through some of the code and I'm having a difficulty connecting with our website that's not active. And we have things that are referring to city code and it's like, I'm flying blind here.
Okay, well, hold on one second. So our current website is still up and running. There's nothing wrong with it. It's still functioning
Okay,
just
when I
fine.
tried connected me on it today, it just said this link is not working. So
Oh.
I'll try it again.
Hold on one second. Oh,
Like that one?
Yeah,
like that?
like that. And then it said, it warned me, do not click on this link, unsafe. And I didn't because I get in trouble at work when I do bad things like that.
Rightfully so.
There it is.
Okay, so if you go over here to helpful resources and you go to the Code of Ordinances,
Okay,
then here they all are.
all right.
So you can just kind of pick and choose. You can do, there's a little search bar up here. If you want to look for something specific, then you can look right here.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. I have no idea why that's happening.
Mine comes.
Neither
up
does
with-
ampersand. Know why it's happening. Any other questions for the clerk? Concerns? Thank you, Madam Clerk. We go to the Borough Rep for the North Star Borough.
Hasn't been a meeting since.
Hasn't been a meeting.
There's
So
one this Thursday.
there's one this Thursday. And Anton's already told us about. So we have no ongoing project report, do we, Madam Clerk?
No, we do not.
And no unfinished business. So we go to new business. And who's going to introduce for us ordinance 2304? We have a Jeff Jacobson will probably do that, and he's got a substitution, which I think is pretty nice.
If I may, Mayor.
Yes, sir, you've got it.
It was somewhat daunting to try to compare all the different versions electronically to kind of synthesize the a pattern of consistency throughout this section of the code. And so that's what this attempt is to do, is to treat bullying and all kinds of harassment as consistently throughout this section of the code, with saying what is considered harassment or bullying, and that there will be consequences for doing those things. And so what you see in yellow are the things that were added in or changed from Zane's Zane's edits. So everything in black ink is the corrected version from, or the edited version from Zane. But I thought it was important that we start off with the city intends to provide a safe workplace free of harassment or bullying, as just the beginning of that section, because his statement just said all of City of North Pole employees and members shall complete this training. And it's like, well, maybe we should have a statement first. I kept it really simple, and then it kind of works from that. As I said earlier, first day of employment could be just a matter of handing out this section of code with a signature page and having the employee read through that and signing that they read it, and that a copy of their signature on that goes in their file, and they get to take a copy with them, and that's their initial training. And then the HR department can develop an annual training program after that. But this is just something that we would get people doing right out of the gate. And because things happen rapidly, that's why I thought, having annual training, it doesn't have to be intensive. It doesn't have to be very expensive. It's just a matter of making sure that everybody rereads this policy about bullying and harassment. The next one, blocking and cornering, was just two additions there that were in another version from AML that I just added in there. There should be actually a comma after cornering, blocking, comma, cornering, comma, assaulting or threatening, because that's also physically threatening to get into somebody's space or block their pathways where they feel like they're trapped. And so I thought that was important to include there. Zane had taken out public humiliation in any form and public reprimand. And I didn't understand his logic behind that, because those are pretty serious when it comes to a safe workplace environment where no one is being chastised in front of their peers. If there's a discipline issue, it should be done behind a closed door between the supervisor and the employee versus in a large setting. So that's why that was put back in from his deletion. On the next page, everything you can see is all in black, so there's no changing there. What I did do though is, or we did, was to take out those levels that I mentioned earlier. But in one of his levels, there was the fourth level, which was criminal touching. And so I included that as 9 in this list of sexual harassments. So it didn't go away. It just was put in with this whole list of other things above that. And then the racial harassment was something that was not in any of the versions. And I thought that was important since we're talking about harassment and bullying, that we have both sexual harassment and racial harassment. Of course, there's other kinds of harassment too, dealing with people's ethnicity or their religion or stuff like that, but that could still be considered under harassment in general. I didn't want to get too specific, but I thought those were the 2 linchpins. And then prohibited conduct only dealt with sexual harassment originally. And so we turned that into types of harassment and workplace bullying. So it's now covering all 3 topics, not just sexual harassment as prohibited conduct. And then the 3 and 5 were already in some of the other sections that were deleted. So, but I added them here into this prohibited conduct. And then on the last, I, types of corrective action, I just added in being sexually or racially harassed or bullied. Same thing, I just added all the or racial workplace bullying. Those are pretty much the changes that you'll see until you get to the last page. And again, training, I added that this training can be written, because if we provide them a copy of this code, that's a written form, it doesn't fall into virtual, digital, or in person. So I thought just adding that in there gives us more options of getting the information to them. Yeah, that's all I have to share. Chandra or Skip, do you want to?
Anything to share, Chandra?
No, he's covered pretty much of everything.
Yeah, I think it's a much better product than what we had a month ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I appreciate everyone giving us this time to go through it. And this is, again, I would move that we would substitute this ordinance for what's there.
Yeah.
And then we would still have another meeting to approve it. So you still have 2 more weeks to talk about it, think about it, you know.
Ms. Welch, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just so this will also include newly elected people. So on there, that will be part of the package that they do when they sign up for everything at the point. So when we have our 2 newly elected members, they will get this policy, correct?
Correct.
So that everybody will be
Correct.
part of it. Yeah.
My question is, annually enough? There's, like I said, I came from a federal sector when I was in the feds, where you had one at your appraisal, when you got your appraisal for your annual performance report, and you had one beginning of the fiscal year. So it's usually October, April, we had to do it. So no one could say they weren't,
Well,
lost.
To answer your question, I think we could just leave it as annually, because until there's a problem, you don't really need to do it more than frequency than that. I know at the city of Fairbanks, in my Department of Public Works, whenever we have a problem with harassment or bullying, guess what's going to be the topic at our next department safety meeting is harassment and bullying. We'll go over that policy again, and everyone will get a copy and sign it and give it back to me to put in their file as a reminder. So I don't think dictating it multiple times a year is necessary. I think just annually and then as needed. by department, because it might be an issue that happens just in one department, not all city employees, so.
Yes, Anton's good.
So my brain is finding misspelled word. Mrs. Clerk, if you could find demeaning on page 3, there's a few letters switched
I
around.
think somewhere it got corrected, I thought, up there. Thought I saw it corrected. About, we were demeaning, right?
It was in yellow. It's under racial harassment, F.
F.
Sorry. Yep.
We're almost there. There's demeaning.
There it is at the
Okay.
bottom.
So which one?
Yeah,
Right
right there.
Oh,
It
thank
got
you.
misspelled. You can fix that right on the spot there.
Thank you, Ms. Clerk.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay up above on number 2.
Thank you for those who worked on this. This
Yeah.
looks great.
This is much better than the product. I think it was done hastily. I'll just go on the record, say it was done very hastily with CSG. It was one of those things where my thing back and forth to him was he needed more time. Well, you know. I think it's not like we didn't give it to him with time. It's just that he was in travel status and all of a sudden he found himself with too many commitments and couldn't satisfy it properly. So he asked for more time. He thanked for more time, but best I could tell, he didn't have it still.
Yeah. And this substitute ordinance is not a criticism of Zane.
No, no, it's an improvement.
It's adding more to what we were trying to accomplish
As
to
a
begin
city.
with.
Mhm.
And then it's okay to disagree with some of his choices that he makes his edits and say, no, we're good with how we had it.
I kind of know something too. Not that it should matter now. It may be a moot point. He thought that if you reprimand somebody, of course, I learned in the military and in the feds, you praise them in public, reprimand in private. But he felt like if somebody was doing something that was going to be harmful or dangerous, and they're always doing that there should be a time where you could call somebody out in front of their peers. That's what his thought was. That's what he told me. And I guess that fit into humiliation and reprimands as one, from what I remember him telling me.
Well, I think whenever there is an imminent danger, you can certainly get that employee's attention to stop what they're doing so they don't get hurt
Right.
or damage equipment. And that is a loud voice, that is in public, but
Yeah.
it's also a safety condition.
What's the matter?
We won't let her delete it.
Yeah,
like
I
Annie
was
did.
trying to fix that typo and it's giving me issues, and I think it's just because of the formatting.
Yes, David.
It's got one possible, just to just throw some stuff around. Here on formal action under I. Letter I, formal action, it would be.
Do we not need to put it on the table first before we discuss all the?
We're gonna discuss it. It's like nobody else is here. Go ahead.
So it would be formal action D. Victim shall submit formal complaints to media supervisor and forward to the complaint to. It says human resources and the mayor. Do we need to have and the mayor on there?
In the aspect of having the mayor on that, it would be potentially if he was the supervisor of that individual. Okay,
Where do you see that at, David?
Oh, it's
Letter delta,
Oh,
two,
formal action, keep
Next
going
page.
down,
Formal
keep
action,
scrolling
D.
down,
the victim shall submit
D
formal
right there.
written
Same
request
there.
to their immediate
There.
supervisor.
here it
and
is.
the mayor.
and with that being the potential, yeah, I can see we could pull that out. But looking at the aspect that he is the umbrella. Now, with this in mind, we are also trying to work with an agency that, because our departments are very small, to make it where we have a third party that would be the intercessor
Okay,
through this. So that's what Ellie will be working on when she returns. Okay. What we found when we talked to this gentleman down in Anchorage was that there are a lot of small departments within Alaska, and people do not feel comfortable trying to take it to, like, let's say the fire chief, and they'll go over his head and speak to the mayor. but then the mayor's agreeing with that and the circumstances not taken care of. So with that being said, this entity felt that through the departments of Alaska, that it would probably be best. With that in mind, it would be no more than $2 per employee, okay, for this to be taken on board. And with that being said, what will happen is you would send your concerns to this entity.
And they'll be
The entity would look it up, research it, go through the Alaska laws. If need be, they would also hire the attorney to help. So as I stated, Ellie's looking into that. And, you know, with the brand new baby, everything kind of got help.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right
Is
now.
that $2 a month or pay period?
It's $2 a month,
Okay, that's pretty decent.
right? And that's what we said.
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
Just glasses.
Like the sales tax review that they do.
Yeah,
Look
Yeah.
at her.
$90
Reflection
a
in
month.
it, you know?
We-
I don't know, but she's talking to me and I
So,
wanna look at her.
With this corrected, are we sure now we've got it like we want it? We'll introduce it like this. You want to introduce it, Jeff?
Here, move to substitute the document before us
0.36.291.
or ordinance 23-04.
Second,
Any discussion? Any further discussion?
Just that, Madam Clerk, since we moved the substitution, when we see this again in our agenda packet, it will look like the ordinance that we have in our packet, but now with this new
Correct.
language.
Yeah,
and
I
we
just
won't
didn't
have
want to,
any of the other stuff there, right? It'll just.
right. I'll get rid of it and I'll put it in the format and the red's so hard to look
Yeah,
at.
I
So,
can't see the rest.
yeah, so I just kept it in black.
Yeah, I thought that was good too. And I appreciate you kept it in yellow because that helps me see things that have
Absolutely.
been changed.
Yeah.
I get confused when things are underlined,
Put over the
strike through, bolded, italics, what they're trying to convey. So it's kind of like, if you see yellow, it's a change.
Ms. Welch.
Just a point, if you ever make a copy of this with the yellow will not show. That's the only problem with that.
Xerox.
Xerox copy.
A paper copy, yeah.
Not as, yeah, it was just for us.
It's for us, Madam Clerk, call the question.
Okay, Mr. Kermer,
Yes.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mrs. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Jacobson,
Yes,
Mrs. Clock,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Anyone wish to change? Seeing no changes, this will now be forwarded to our March 20 meeting for final approval. We go to item B. Danny's up again for approval of the master service agreement with Two Bears Environmental Consulting on pages 23 to 41.
And again, as we addressed before, this is a contract with a consulting firm to provide grant writing support to the city of North Pole. I think it's in the best interest of the city. It's cost effective and it will get at our weaknesses.
Questions? Ms. Clack has a hand up.
I noticed on this that we're saying 70 hours or less. And looking at the fact that they'd be doing writing for the month, and I kind of broke down as a regular employee, and I know this is grant, this is a kind of out of my area, but if somebody can give me some knowledge and wisdom on this understanding of how we're saying 70 hours and giving them $8,000 a month, why can't we do 80 hours for the 8,000 a month?
In the contract, and I'm not sure if it's in the copy that you have, but
I got that.
there's a list. From their perspective, the 70 hours for $8,000 a month is discounted because they would tap into a variety of different folks to support this in this here. Now, we could go back to them and make a counter offer. We have the option to do that. But that, again, my impression is that that's pretty much their discounted set rate.
Can I do a second question to that?
Yeah, but let me clarify one thing, if I may. It is variable. It could be up to 77 hours. So 70 is the base hours that they contemplate based on their experience. But they say, we'll let you go as much as 77 hours and won't cost you a dime more.
But I'm still looking at.
Yeah.
You're paying them 8,000.
Right.
So for that dollar amount, why can't we say 80? Because you actually work.
You
a
could,
40 hour
we could
week,
count.
Which is 160.
Oh, yeah,
hours a
we
week.
could counter that. We
I
could.
think
Yeah.
that's what we should
Yeah.
do for that dollar amount. And if they're not willing to budge, then I can say, let's stay with that 77 and give us $1 or give us a discount. But for the dollar amount and the time, I'm thinking that we still should have some type of 80 hours because you normally work 160 hours a month, excuse me.
Month, yeah.
And so with that, you're getting away with 80 hours and still somebody's getting paid. Okay. I'm looking at the fact that somehow or another, that time frame can still be used to benefit us as opposed to waiting down the line later. Okay. That's what I came up with as I was going through this. All right. I saw their list. I even had to ask somebody about, $8,000 is kind of steep. Okay. And as I said, this is a little out of my ballpark, but I'm kind of used to dealing with some grants. But this one's was a little high for the time frame that you're asking. And I understand that we could drop it at any time. Okay. But I think we should do a counter of the 80 hours. Looking at 160 is what you would normally put in a week. Because what's going to happen with the other a month?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the other 80?
Oh.
If they're not working on our stuff?
Well, we're one of many clients that they have. So.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I understand you're working on
Yeah.
something else for someone else, but yet what's happening to the other 80 that's going to benefit us to meet your time frame? Because you're also on a time crunch for a document to make, like if the one you're getting ready to do and you have to have it in May. Okay. So if they're just going to do the 77 hours and give it to you, analyze it, double check it and all of that, are we still going to be able to get what you went out for? You see what I'm saying? The proposal that you're putting on the table. All right. So that's why I'm saying, to me, it looks like we'll still not be a satisfied client. That's my thought on it.
Any other, Ms. Welch?
Yeah, I'm just looking at it for the amount of, from what I gathered from them, the expertise and the knowledge that these people have, the people they know, the knowledge of regulations, the knowledge of grants that they have done already, et cetera, et cetera. We're paying them, if they give us 77 hours, we're giving them $103 an hour, approximately. And for some reason, after meeting this lady, I really doubt seriously that they're going to count pennies and stuff like that. I think we're going to get, if we go back to them, I mean, the other company wanted upfront half a year's worth of $10,000 a month, and there was no guarantee on anything. The way these guys are going to do it, they're going to go looking at things. We say, this is what we want to pursue. This is what we want to pursue. And they will literally give us a list of things that we can pursue. Here's 15 different grants that we have found in just on the list by just throwing in certain things into the system that they have already set up. And then we can look at it, Danny can look at it and say, yeah, I need this for this and this. Chief can say, I need this for my fire station. Chief can say, hey, I need this for my police work, et cetera, et cetera. And then those grants can be done. We can pick those that we want out of there, and they will give us an update on it. They'll make sure that we have our times, that we meet our time limits, that we meet the things that we're supposed to have to people, which is one of the things that they were talking about, was that if you don't have your stuff in at the right time, and if they want clarification and there's nobody that's there to answer the questions, that kind of stuff, they are all on that as a part of their expertise of doing it. I think if we're going to go nickel and diming them, I think that's kind of an insult, but that's just my opinion.
It won't hurt to ask them, I don't think. Mr. Jacobson's got a question.
Yeah, I know for for typical wage earners, $8,000 a month for 80 hours worth of work or less seems like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but also we don't question when we take your car to Seekins and they charge us $150 an hour per mechanic. That's the going rate. If you want to get a plumber come to your house, good luck for getting him cheap. So I think $114 an hour for 70 hours a month, or $103 an hour for 77 hours a month is worth spending and seeing what we can get. You don't have to do it for the rest of the year. We could do it for first 3 months and see what kind of activities we get. We can cancel after that. But I would think that every time that they produce something, that Danny would be giving us an update and sharing what value we're getting for our money, so that we can decide if we want to continue going down that road or not. But I agree. I would be embarrassed to go back to them and say, can you give us 80 for 8,000? It would be a hard leap for me to ask that question of somebody that has already made an offer to help us.
Thank you. Any other comments, concerns? All right, Madam Clerk, call the question.
Sure. Mr. Jacobson,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mrs. Clark,
No.
Mr. Skips,
Yes.
Mrs. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Anyone wish to change their vote? So it is advanced to our next meeting, March 20th, 6-1 is the vote.
What is?
Why should it advance?
Huh?
It's just an agreement. We didn't have it as an ordinance or
I
anything.
thought it was.
Yeah,
okay.
it's
So,
approved.
so it goes, it's forward then. Okay, I thought you were talking about we were going to discuss it again. I guess what I'm going to discuss with them, if y'all don't think it's inappropriate, I could ask them, would they go to 80 hours? That's the only thing I was going to say, if you want me to.
But we
Won't hurt.
just passed it
Yeah,
the way that it is.
yeah. If we could have it at 80, they might do that, you never know. I'm sorry, it is just an approval. You're correct. So it's approved. 6-1 is the count. Item 13, who's first, Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Welch,
Just to continue, be safe out there. Thank you to our ice removing contract out there. Appreciate the roads being cleared again. Took the hard pack back out again, at least in my neighborhood they did. So appreciate that, and appreciate our city workers and our police and fire out there doing their darndest to keep us safe in all directions. So appreciate. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Skips.
The only thing I have is just a reminder that March 15th is a deadline for your public official financial disclosure statements,
Thank you for that.
or you will be heavily fined. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark.
I was going to say the same thing and Mr. Skip beat me to it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Keller.
I was actually sweating the other day because I was like, oh no, I know it's due in March at some point. So I went ahead and just did it real quick. So yeah, the good old APOC, right? I wanted to offer thanks to the department heads that we have here at the city. Not only for the thoroughness of the reports that you guys give, and ladies, Ms. Clerk, but also the enthusiasm that you guys bring, and ladies bring, to the meeting, and to any time that I get a chance to meet with you. The enthusiasm of not only where we are as a city, but also your vision of where we can go as a city. And it's exciting to see the visions that you have for not only the department, but for the city. But then also I understand that there's a trickle down effect, that your lieutenants, that your captains, that your officers, that your public work administrators, the other secretaries and admin that we have in the building here, they feel that excitement and they want to be part of something grander. So with Chief Dutra giving us this presentation tonight before this meeting of what can we do to invite good officers to come and to apply, I think that also includes other employees for the city? How can we attract those that want to live here, that want to give back? And I think with some of this change that we've had with the harassment policy, with us coming together with a stance against the trucking, we're trying to trucking of the ore, to be exact, a couple of weeks ago. We're trying to gather together people, a community that really is about unity. We're hearing a lot of things about divisions and everything, but I think here in North Pole, we're trying to be unified. And I think we're getting pieces together. It's come a long ways since I've been kind of voted on to council a little over a year ago. But it's really interesting, and it's an awesome experience to be part of this. Okay, we're getting puzzles together here. What else are we missing? So my invitation to residents is, come help us be that part of what else are we missing? What else do we need to discuss? Business adventures. I love that we had the citizens comments today of, okay, what can we do to better the environment for businesses that come in? So it's definitely something for us to look forward to, seeing continued growth, which I'm excited for. I'm excited for good change. And with that, I'm going to yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Cromer.
I want to thank Mr. Skips for reminding me, because I would totally. And yeah, those are.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobson.
Thanks. I do have an APOC story that I'll share with you. On one of my previous terms on the city council, I inadvertently left off my home address on my APOC form when I sent it in March. My place of residence, I just didn't list it, and they contacted me in August and said I had a $4,000 bill to pay because I had submitted incorrect information on my APOC form, and that they went back to March 15th to fine me. I pleaded my case that it's real obvious that I have to have a house to live in North Pole, and and all my other previous APOC statements had my address. I just forgot this one, and so they reduced that down significantly to a few $100s. But I was like just shocked that it's that aggressive. So don't miss your deadline and make sure everything's filled out correctly. Skip, David, thank you for bringing that to our attention, because it's one of those things that can really jump up on you. I've heard the concern about police wages a lot in Fairbanks, at the Fairbanks Police Department over the last 6-7 years that I've worked there. And when the police chief said that our police officers start out at $28 an hour, I was really shocked. In this town, you can go to work at Walmart or McDonald's for $20 an hour, no skills, no special training. So I think that low wage, we really need to think hard on what we can do to raise that, or to do things that will attract people to come work here. I think it's a timely message, even though we just got done with their budget. It seems like yesterday, we're in a very cutthroat environment when it comes to recruiting and for workers in any level. And so usually it's a huge win when you hire somebody, because the hiring pool is very small and difficult. I want to thank everyone's support on the substitution ordinance. Feel free to read this over, and we can discuss it again and make any changes at our next council meeting. But I'm really excited about that we have this in place. I'm also really excited about the Westcott Pool Rehab, $8 million investment in our community. And I'm glad that they're going to fix the water slide that's been out of commission. When I was mayor, that was one of the projects that I was able to secure federal funding for, was to put in that water slide. And we got a $250,000 grant through Lisa Murkowski's office for the water slide. And it ended up costing the borough like $1.5 million to put it in, because they have to do all these upgrades to the facility. So I was not very popular down at the borough for a while, because that ended up costing them so much. So I'm glad years later, my name isn't associated with this rehab project and the water slide fix. So, also, I've been getting an email from a individual, who wants to paint a North Pole mural. And he's wanting to, find a location perhaps within the city that he could do that. It cost the city $3,000 to $5,000 if we want to sponsor that project. I was thinking of some of the murals that we have in Fairbanks on some of the sides of buildings. There's a painting of different Alaska scenes, things like that, that I don't know if DOT would allow us to let this artist do a mural on maybe the overpass on Santa Claus Lane on those cement hexagonal shaped pieces of concrete. That might be a good canvas for him. I didn't, so I'm just throwing that out there, that if we want to have something this summer, it's something that we could talk more about at our next meeting. With that, that's the end of my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Just again, to reiterate, tomorrow on the 7th, between 2 and 8 PM up at the U, and I think there's a specific place that they have you park and they bus you up to the auditorium, but there's going to be public testimony if you so desire to make or listen to testimony about what the EPA is trying to require for us to do for our air quality. So if you can go to that, please do, and give testimony if you could. With that, people are still asking about doing certain things. I got a request from Rick Watson, Stepping Stones, wanting to know what was being built this summer. And I said, I'll have to take it under advisement because at this juncture, no one has told me of anything new that's coming up here. So, but he's pretty much interested in, what his competition is this summer. So I guess he's going to resume what he was building, that he stopped building last September, October. We'll see how that comes out. And in regard to other issues, things went fine. Just so that the council will know, I'll get a final submission to give to the clerk. But we did have what formerly was Love Inc., now called Helping Alaska, did distribute our CARES Act money that we gave to them. So the final bit of it has already been distributed no later than February 28th. So that worked out pretty good. And with that, I don't have anything else to say, but I'll see you next time. Motion to adjourn. Seconded. That's at 23 past. We're closed. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think that was a really good.